Welcome to another episode of the iWorkinSport live interview. This is the show where we talk to accomplished sport business professionals who come here to share their knowledge, their experience, tips, and advice in order to help you succeed in your career. If we're just meeting, my name is João Frigerio. I'm the founder of iWorkinSport, and I want to say a big thank you for being here with us today. And since this is the first episode of the year, Happy New Year. If we're coming back, you know the drill. Let me know where you're watching from. Write in the comments. Also, if this is your first time, please do the same thing. Write in the comments where you're watching from. And also prepare to send questions and comments, right? This is an interactive session. We start this year 2025 with a very special guest. Thairo Arruda is the CEO of SAF Botafogo, one of Brazil's most celebrated clubs, which have been in a difficult situation in the past couple of decades, even being relegated a few times. And that was finally saved by a new ownership and new management. We will talk about that, but also about Thairo's whole career journey and what brought him to the position where he's in now, right? Before I invite Thairo to join me, I want to say that this episode is brought to you by Mint, the leading recruitment agency for sport and entertainment in Europe. Many people still may be familiar with the name Sport Carrière, but the company recently rebranded as it expands more and more into entertainment in the international market. So if you are someone looking for your next move in the sports industry, check out wearemint.com. The link is on the description of the video. Also, if you're a company looking for help to hire the best talent, get in touch with Mint. I'm actually working with Mint internationally, so feel free to reach out to me directly. That's it. So without further ado, let me invite Thairo to join me right after this. Yes. Thairo, welcome. Thanks for making the time and joining us at the iWorkinSport live interview. Happy New Year, the champions.
Yes, John, that's a big pleasure to be here. We met each other like 6 years ago, and I told you several times you invited me. I told you I was not ready at the time. I needed to be more experienced in the position of CEO of Botafogo, with more experience to deliver to your great podcast. So finally we are here. So I'm glad. Good morning to everyone. Good afternoon or good evening, wherever you are. So it's a big pleasure to be here, John.
Thank you, Thairo. Thank you. Here's a good evening already. Good afternoon to you, and as you said, good morning to some people watching further in America. Thairo, this is a show basically about career. This is what we focus on. We're going to talk about specifics of your job at some point. But let's start with a summary of your career, maybe what you studied. Tell us a bit the journey that brought you to where you are now, please.
John, before starting football, I had nothing very special in my career. I would say I was pretty generic, like career-wise. So I worked most of my career in management consulting firms, like these big firms providing services for big companies, mostly in Brazil and in the US. Then I joined a banking, I was working in banking in the biggest South America bank, Itaú, for 2 years until I joined I did my master degree at Yale when I was 31. And that was a shift in my career, shift in my life. was very, very special moment in my life where I could stay 2 years, like full time at Yale, meeting the great minds like I've ever seen in my life, professors, students, all are great people. At some point, I was questioning myself, like if I was one of them, because sometimes I felt they were too good to be there, and I was not in their level. But then I think I made myself one part of the Yale group at some point. So that was in 2018 when I wanted to change career. I wanted to do something more meaningful to the world, to the society. So my first attempt to be impactful was working for a big organization, a big non-profit organization. So I joined the United Nations in Lebanon. So I worked during the end of the Syrian war, where Lebanon got more than 2 million refugees from Syria. And the most important work of United Nations at the time was to help them to settle at Lebanon, providing jobs for families. And I was working there for macroeconomy, macroeconomy stuff to generate jobs for the refugees. Still, I was not so fulfilled in my professional career. I thought the UN was more like a public sector, like people. I love to work. I work like 12, 14 hours a day, and there was working like 5 to 6. So it was not enough for me, and I decided to think about another industry I could deliver to society, and I found football as a potential opportunity for me. And like joining football, the football industry is very complicated. Like everyone has the same idea, like me, like, oh, I would love to work for my club. I would like to work in football. I love football. So let's connect my professional aspirations to my personal aspirations. So that's pretty much what everyone wants. And I had to do something special, something different in order to get, a good positioning in football. So I decided to start my own business at the time. So I founded, along with my partner Danilo, we found Matix Capital. It was a boutique M&A company focused on acquiring football clubs. That was in 2019. So I started in football with my company, Matix. And at the time, Brazil didn't have any ownership. Like the SAF law was not yet approved. So we started the company in Europe, trying to find clubs to acquire in Portugal, Spain, France mainly. We were very, very close to acquire Académica de Coimbra in Portugal when COVID started and closed everything in the country. We had the financing. We sourced investors to acquire the club, and then everything fell apart with COVID. So Danilo, my partner, stayed in Portugal. I decided to come back to Brazil because the SAF law, which is the law that allowed private investors to acquire clubs in the country. It's important to say that this background, because the Brazilian clubs are all associations, non-profit associations with no ownership. So there was a new law in 2020 that allowed for private investors to acquire clubs in Brazil. So then I decided to travel back to Brazil to, understand better and to be one of the first to work on this side of football, on acquiring clubs in Brazil. Things went really well at the time. We knew many of the investors in the world, including John Textor, that ended up acquiring Botafogo. So because of this connection we had with investors, we were able to, be in the forefront of the Brazilian movement. We brought Textor to Brazil. We pitched the country, the opportunities to him. he liked Botafogo case. So Danilo and I, we both conducted the full M&A process of the club. And then in 2021, and then 2022, John Textor invited me to run the club for him. In the beginning, was not as a CEO. I didn't have any experience as a CEO of any organization. So he invited me to be like, he called me like a general director, something like that, to not put two highlights on me. Like I was not ready to, show myself as a CEO of a club. And then I was about to be like an interim until he finds the real CEO. Like he was interviewing many people as to be the CEO. So I stayed about 6 to 8 months running the club until he came to say, Thairo, I couldn't find anyone better than you. Would like to stay as my CEO? And as I accepted, of course. And since then, I've been the CEO of the club.
So when was that? So when did you first join the club, and when were you made effective CEO?
So it was March 2022. We acquired the club, and then we had the 2022 season, full season, 2023, 2024. So we had like 3 seasons already. I've been running the clubs for 3 years.
Cool, cool. And Thairo, one thing I remembered, I think was funny. The first time I met you, you were with your sort of investment, your fund that you created, Matix, that you told me. But also an interesting story was just a few months before I was invited to speak, and I brought a few other friends to speak at an event at Princeton University. They were doing the first Princeton soccer conference. And the organizers, were talking to me, and they told me that their inspiration was the Yale soccer conference that happened maybe the year before or something. I said, okay. So I just kept that information. And then a few months after, I think we were in Miami when we first met. And then you told me, I've been doing these things, and I created this conference in Yale. I said, oh, really? I just came from Princeton, and they said that you were kind of their inspiration. But I wanted to know how much that maybe putting that event together also helped you in maybe getting the context that you wanted, because you're doing an MBA that was not focused in sport or in football, and then you take this opportunity and you start maybe being able to invite some key stakeholders in the industry. Maybe can you share a bit about that experience, because I thought that was very smart actually.
Yeah, John, well reminded. Actually, my journey in football started with this conference. I was one of the captains or the leaders of the soccer club in the university. So we just organized like football games, tournaments. This was the job of the club there. So I decided to do something different. So I founded basically the Yale Soccer Conference. There was an opportunity to bring great speakers from the globe to put all together at Yale, a great university in the US, and to speak for this public. So I tried that. At first, was not to have something for me, but for the community of Yale. I was thinking about like as a leader of this the soccer club to provide to the crew, to the fans of our university a different approach of other than just tournaments. That was a great success because it was a very well organized event. The speakers were very pleased for like being there. It's the school, like it was crowded. And then I remember I got an offer, a job offer from Barcelona, basically from one of the speakers in the conference. They knew I was the organizer, and the lady, extended me a job offer. I also got an offer from Bayern Munich at the time. So because of this conference, so then I started to realize that I could work in football.
But those the opportunities weren't attractive enough at that time for you.
Not really. Uh, I was very frustrated by the offer of Barcelona. Actually, they I can tell you they offered me like an entry level job for like 2,000 euros per month. And I told the lady, look, like I have 10 years experience. I have a master degree at Yale. I was before even joining Yale, I was making like 6 or 7 per month. So now you're offering me two. So yeah, that was frustrating. The lady told me that, Thairo, um, so imagine how many great candidates we have as good as you that are willing to work for free for Barcelona. So that's that's the real that's the real situation of clubs or big clubs. There are so many candidates that are willing to work for very little, so they could only give me like 2K per month.
And that's not uncommon in the industry. I think it's important that people realize that this is almost like the rule rather than the exception. I think working in sports, I think remuneration is relatively lower than many other, I think, industries. Also because of that, I think the passion people want to work in those places, and also that industry as well is not that big, right? People think about see numbers like, oh, Cristiano Ronaldo's salaries or transfers from 200 millions, you know, and all that. And then you see studies that will say that the sports industry as a whole maybe is worth close to $2 trillion, and people see that number and say, "Wow, that's huge," and then they realize that's lower than the market cap than one or two companies. So the whole industry is worth less than one company or a few of those top companies. I think it's good to make that point that out to people that are thinking of working in sports.
Yeah,
We're not saying that they shouldn't, but they just need to be realistic. But Tairo, now talking
perfect. Well
about
said,
you.
John. Like just
Go on, sorry.
sorry, just to complement, that's very important points. I think like people that really wants to join football, they need to know that they will not probably not make great money. Basically, the only people that make great numbers in sports are players and agents. That's all. All the other employees, even CEOs, it's not that attractive. Um, it's a different world. It's a world of passion. It's a world of like a prestige. It's a world of like like telling your family, your friends, everyone that's how great is work for a club. But if
Have
you really
fun.
want to make money, go to have fun. But if you really want to make money, go to banking, go to consulting, start your own business, but not in sports, unfortunately.
Good advice. Um, Tairo, tell me what's a normal day of work for you, if there is such a thing as a normal day. But try to paint a picture. What's a normal day would look like for you?
Well, John, I don't have a normal day of work. It's my routine is completely a mess. Every day is a different day. As a CEO of a club, like normally a club, any club, they have two big persons, like the president and the CEO, right? The president is the one that talks to like institutional relations, talks to the federations, to the press. They're like more like the external person, right? And the CEO is more the internal one, like it's the execution, like guarantee the day-to-day execution that like the strategic plan is well ran in the organization, and that you're being effective in every single area, like following KPIs, etc. That's the internal work. In Botafogo, we don't have the figure of the president. The president is John Textor, but he's not there at the club every day. So I need to fulfill this job as well. Like, so I need to travel every month or every 2 weeks to Brasilia, the capital, to meet with the Congress people, senators, the government in general. I need to go to events to represent the club. I need to go to Ball, CBF all the time to represent the club. So doing the presidential role. At the same time, I need to do the CEO role. So that's big challenge because we really needed two persons to do that. So what I do, I decided that the first 2 years of my role at Botafogo, I decided to not do anything about the presidential role. I was putting together everything in the company, like restructuring all the areas in the club in the first 2 years. So we lacked a lot of the institutional relations. We lacked very much that. We didn't have any grounds built with CBF, with Brasilia, with Ball, nothing. So the third year of my management, I decided to give my directors more freedom so that they could run their areas without my physical presence. And I decided to work a lot on the presidential role. So we built bridges with a lot of organizations that helped a lot the club as well. So that's why the routine is not too easy to describe.
Okay, understood. And what is it that you like the most about your job then, or even about working in sports?
Well, every single day is different. Every single day is it's it's a challenge, a new challenge for me. So that's what gets me very excited for my job. Like all the problems we face are very unique, and normally what comes to the hands of the CEO is things that the organization couldn't solve by themselves, like the other directors. So imagine the types of problems that I get. It's real problems, difficult problems. So these challenging situations are very exciting for me, and I feel powerful to be able to deliver and to feel or to solve these big issues in the club. And when we see the results coming in, like not only in the field, but financial results, paying the old debt of the club or restructuring the whole organization, and when you see the employees happy, that's a joy for me as a leader.
And then on the other hand, what is the thing that you really dislike? If you could just skip it, that you just do because you have to, but you don't really have much joy in doing it. Is there something that you want to point out?
Well, yes, there is one thing that I don't like too much is to uh, deal directly with agents in general. Not because they are not great. Some of them are great people, and I'm really friends of. But I think the negotiations of players with agents are somewhat like difficult sometimes. Like it's quite challenging when like an agent asks for commissions here, commissions there, and getting commissions from both sides of the deal, and you discover that, and you say, well, you want to earn from me and from the buyer, from the seller, from the player. So that's why I say like agents are one of the few that real makes real money in football. And I think FIFA actually could even dive into that more. I think the market's not well developed in this side.
Yeah.
They have much control of the player career. I think sometimes the player don't even know the offers they get. It's conflict of interest all the time. Like imagine like a situation where you offer to buy a player, you extend an offer to the agent, which is the right one to talk. and the agent tells you like, well, yes, but like you have another player in your club, that's mine too. So if you renew the player that you have there, I can accept the other offer. So all the time there is the conflict in the table when dealing with agents. So that's sad. That's sad, real sad. Sometimes the player that you want to buy, they don't even know that, they don't even know the offer you gave to them.
Right, right. And Thairo, you hired several people since you arrived in Botafogo, right? You have to restructure the whole club, so you recruited a lot of people there, right? Um, what's are the main skills that you look for people when you're recruiting them? Obviously, they need to be able to do the specific job, but is there specific type of traits that's a kind of look in people? Shall I say maybe to work directly with you?
João, yes, we hired a lot of people since the beginning. So I would say about like 120 in 3 years. We also fired a lot of them. And normally I don't get too much involved in the HR decisions. I think that's my decision. I think they are free to conduct a admissions process and interviews and all that. What we try to do is that, like, normally there's so many candidates for every single spot. I got like myself like dozens of messages every single day from like LinkedIn or Twitter or Instagram or WhatsApp directly asking for jobs. What we really try to focus on is that we love people that are passionate about their specific area. So it's very easy to find passionate people about football. That's everyone's dream to work for a club. But do you really like accounting, your area? Do you really like marketing? Do you really like legal? Do you really like operations? Like, that's the real core area of the person. Because sometimes you get frustrated. The person wants to work for Botafogo, they get the job, but they end up doing the same thing as they're doing the other industry. That's accounting, for instance, or any other area. And normally the person, oh, well, that's not exactly what I envisioned for a club. Well, you're not working in scouting or in the football department, you're working in accounting. So you got to be passionate about that. So that's the first thing that we look for, like this, the passion for the area. Second thing, when I'm talking about the second level of the organization, the directors or the ones that report to me, I look for loyalty, basically, because it's for me, I learned that from Textor. The loyalty is very, very important, because it's very easy, and people in every organization, they used to talk bad things about the boss. It's very easy to do that, like when you are in a bar with your friends and your co-workers, and say, oh yeah, our boss, blah blah blah, he's not great, or I would do different things. So this all contaminates the organization. So I always bring people that are loyal to me, so I can trust them by heart, even when they make mistakes. I know that they try to do things right. Normally, I don't give bad feedbacks. I just say, like, look, you learned the lesson. Person, yes, I'm sorry, I learned the lesson. Okay, that's fine. Move on. So
Cool.
not the kind of boss that try to control every single thing. So for me, loyalty is important because of that. So if I trust the person by heart, from my bottom of my heart, then I give the person like freedom to develop their job.
Very good, very good. But talking more specific about maybe roles, or do you see? Can you identify maybe what are the skills that are mostly in demand in the market so far? I know we hear things about AI all the time in general, but I don't know if this is something that's already would be important for Botafogo. For some companies, maybe multiple languages would be important. I don't know if that's the case there, or even like an international outlook or experience. Or is there anything specific that you see that is more in demand, especially now with the creations of SAFs in Brazil? Are there a particular type of skills that are more in demand, or I don't know if you can identify any?
Yeah, John, I can point one or two areas that are in demand in Brazil, but I'm sure that every single country is different. The different demands uh, from experts. So since we are a global, podcast, I I, I don't think it's wise to say what's specific from Brazil. But what I can say is that the football in general is demanding experts in each one of the areas. So, what makes you very special to get a job in your dream club? So, you got to be very good on a specific area. So, I hate people that are generic. People come to me say, I want to work in Botafogo. Yeah. So this is my CV, and I'll see the CV. This is great CV. But what do you want to do in Botafogo? Oh, I don't know. I'm ready for everything. No, you're not ready for everything. So if you have this approach, you're out. At least for me, you gotta have like a very specific approach, saying, "Look, I'm a lawyer, and my specialty is contracts. So I wanna deliver that to Botafogo. So I organize all the contracts in the area, bring softwares, bring like technology to the club. Like I'm gonna speed up the process. I'm gonna control better. Very specific.
That's very
General
good advice.
people, I don't. Yeah, I don't like that.
That's very good advice. And can you identify maybe one or two what you think would be your skills that allowed you to get where you are?
Well, yes, I mean like um, I mean the biggest one for me, like as I said, like joining football, the football industry is very difficult. It's a small, as you said, it's a small business in general, a small industry with few people, few opportunities, and tons of candidates. So for me, like what stood out, it's taking risks basically. I put all my savings, everything I had, um, into a company that I started. I spent, John, like including Yale, 2 years at Yale that I couldn't work, plus 3 years with my company with no revenues at all. We were trying to buy a club. I spent 5 years of my career without any revenues coming in, without any salary. So I was only spending everything I had, and my families as well. Like I was borrowing money from my sister, my parents, my friends. Um, I did my MBA at Yale with a loan from a bank. So I ended up being like a total of like 400K euros more or less in personal debt. So I took a lot of personal risks in order to succeed in sports. So this is one of the major aspects of my career that made me success. So it's similar to buying a stock. If you take risk, you end up like having more dividends or more interest than if you don't take risk and you buy like a treasury coupon.
Yeah, for sure. A great lesson too. And as the name says, it is a risk. So you can win big, but you also can lose big. So that's what it is. There's already a good number of questions here in the chat. I'm going to get to that in a second. I think I have a couple more. I'm going to ask people that are sending questions here. I see that Pav is in Birmingham, but there's questions from Leandro Torres, from Francisco Pizarro, from LCC, and from Sergio Rojas. If you can also let us know where you're watching from, that would be great. But if you don't, I will still read your messages. You talked about, people reaching out to you via text, via LinkedIn, or whatever. What are the common mistakes made by people approaching you looking for a job? Is there a right way to do it, and is there a wrong way to do it?
Oh, yes. Great question. I would love to answer this and help as many people as possible.
So we're
First,
going to
the
make a
CEO of
highlight
a
on
company,
Corch.
yeah. First, the CEO of a company does not have time to look at CVs, and he will never reply to a job, inquiry. So look for the HR of the company. That's the right person to talk to, and not the CEO, not the person that is more, big in the organization. Like, they are not replying this type of message. There's a lot of them. So the second thing to do, first, is to talk to the HR. So they will take care of your CV. They will consider for future spots for sure. But the second thing to do is to start to build your networking. So this is a very American stuff, like very American way to find jobs. If you want to work in the legal department of Botafogo, just to give an example, you should talk to the legal director of Botafogo. Present yourself, coffee chats, ask him what's the major issues of Botafogo, what's the challenges there. Find how you can help him. Sometimes, then you need to talk to the other guys in the area, like the coordinators, the legal, the lawyers there. Talk to all of them. Go coffee chat all the time. Present yourself as a candidate, a future candidate. And more than that, understand their issues and provide solutions. That's the American way of finding jobs. And that's the most effective way to find jobs, even in any organization. So, networking, that's the point. Talking to HR and networking the specific area of your, interest. John, I can't hear you for some reason.
Sorry, I said it was excellent,
Yeah.
and I'm going to do a highlight or a corte, as they say there in Brazil, about that one. It was very, very valuable. And there will be others too. I also want to talk about formal education with you, Thairo. You know that I am someone who invested in it. 20 years ago, I came and did the FIFA Masters. I work in iWorkinSport with several other top programs. Many participate in our events as well here in Europe. Super, super good. You are someone who invested in your own education, not sport specific. You just mentioned Yale, and you made a big investment in it. But we also see that there's a lot of very successful people working in sports that didn't make that kind of investment. So I wanted you to talk about what are your impressions of the importance of formal education, for someone who wants to pursue a career in sports today.
John, I think that's like talking about clubs, okay? Not talking about the broader industry now, but talking about clubs. All the clubs, they have two big areas that we can tell. Football department entirely, and the corporate areas like marketing, as I was talking about, all of them. So these two big buckets. All of these, like Masters, FIFA Masters, CBF, or UEFA, all these courses, I think they're more valuable to the football department. Okay, where you understand the business of football as the pitch or the organization of a football club in the essence. But when we talk about the corporate areas, I like lawyers that have an LLM, for instance, not a FIFA master. I like marketing guys that they have specialization in marketing. I like accounting, or that they have a CFA, finance accounting, certificate. So that's what I'm saying before. Like, we lack experts in each one of the areas. That's like in general. So being an expert in finance means that pursue a CFA certification. That's the best one in your area. If you want to do like a legal, do an LLM. That's, I think, more valuable for the area than master in sports. Basically, masters of sports are very valuable. They are very important. But again, like in this other bucket of the organization where we talk about the football department, and football department is like physiology, like all the how to say, the scouting, analytics, everything related to the pitch, organization of the day-to-day work of the club, of the players, logistics. All of these are football related areas, and I think these big courses, they covered a lot of that.
Now, listen, I think it's super interesting to hear your view in it. Also because I realize that probably some of these programs need, I think, to work a little better, maybe in their communication, because I understand that they might give that impression, and it is the case of some programs on the sport specific. But I know as well that there are some that actually prepare the people more to the corporate side, and that the names can be a bit misleading. So this is definitely something that they need to work better, Thairo. And for instance, I'll give the FIFA Master, but others as an example, that I agree. If you want someone for the legal department, you want to have a lawyer. But the fact is, there are lots of lawyers that go and do these courses just to get a better idea of how it works in the sport. The same thing, people that already worked in marketing or other areas have already a career in other firms, and go that and they actually do these programs with intention to work on the corporate side of sport. But this is it was very, very good to hear what you said, because this is something that they certainly need to work on. Anyway, Tyler, we have about 15 minutes to go, and there's questions here from the audience. So I'm going to go over a few of them by order as they sent, and we can reply quickly to some of them, right? LCC, don't know where his or she is writing from. How to get an opportunity to work at Botafogo? You already mentioned. I actually want to say that even like comparing with the Brazilian industry, I think the whole thing is professionalizing more and more. But Botafogo has been in the past years in the forefront of actually posting jobs in, trying to find people where they are. So LinkedIn is a source. You didn't really used to find, clubs posting jobs out there in a quite professional way as any other business. It was a lot as who know who, as you said, it's almost like was an amateur type of management by elected people, a lot of volunteers working, and there was a lot of friends of friends working in football in Brazil, and I think in other countries. And I see that Botafogo is professionalizing a lot in that front, and I see other clubs doing the same. But sorry, I almost like answered for you. Maybe you want to compliment on what I said there to reply to LCC. I just wanted to share my experience.
Yeah, I think every club, they have their own way to evaluate candidates. We at Botafogo, we are very professional. We don't have this who know who approach. Everyone needs to go to the HR with their CV. If there is a job posting offer, you can mention that to the HR. So look, I'm interested in this job. If there is none, no problem at all. Like, you can submit your curriculum to the HR. We have a bank of curriculums, and every time we have an opportunity, our HR scan the scan the curriculums we have to find candidates that already submitted curriculum for us. They started to interview people, and then it's a follow-up process, like an interview with the first HR, then the head of the area, and depends on the level of the role comes to me or not. So it's pretty much the same as every company. And with the plus that I said, that it's even better for the candidate if they met already the people in the area they want to work for.
Great, great. Listen, we have what seems to be a Botafogo fan in the area here. So there will be actually two questions by Leandro Torres. First, it's a football-related question. He says, can Botafogo be competitive against European clubs? And let me already put the second one here so we can reply to both of them. The second is the rebuilding of Botafogo Academy the most difficult challenge for the club? Thank you, Leandro, for the questions. And you can share this interview with other Botafogo fans.
So, Leandro, since we are in a high-level podcast, I will deliver the response of the first question in a more statistical way. So it's very like football results. It's very much correlated to payroll. I think you know that already. I spoke several times about this. So basically, the club that spends more money will be more likely to win games. The correlation is very, very high. In the Premier League, for instance, the correlation of payroll and winning the league is 92%. And in Brazil, it's 68%. So it means that Brazil is more, erratic or more inefficient, basically, in the acquiring players. But it still is a very important number. So when we compare the budget of Botafogo to European clubs, we are certainly beating many of them because we have a significant payroll when we talk about the overall market. But when we talk about the biggest clubs in the world, they have a much bigger payroll than Botafogo. So it's unlikely that we can compete if we were playing like Champions League, for instance. It's unlikely that we could beat most of these big ones, statistically speaking. The other question about the academy, well, as a Botafogo fan, you know that we are rebuilding the club from scratch, basically. And from all of the challenges we had, for the ones that are not Botafogo fans or for the ones that are from abroad, the club was almost bankrupt, basically, coming from the second division 3 years ago. So we had to, deal with that, restructure all the organization before thinking about, investing in infrastructure. So the urgent of the first and the second year was to survive the club, to make the club, breathe again, and to create areas or to develop the areas that they could deliver the work for us. So now, in the fourth year of our management, now the challenges are different. We already built the organization. We won 2 titles. We reestablished Botafogo as one of the biggest in the country. Now the challenge is to build infrastructure. So nowadays we are focused 100% on that.
Great. Thank you, Thairo. Here is not really a question, but a comment by Pav, but since he participates in almost every live here, when I read it, as I said, he agrees with what you said. A lot of guests have talked about once you get into sport, you realize it's like any other job. You just need to go and do the job. So you should, before just wanting to work in sports, you find one area you're passionate about, and then you bring it to sport as well. A question from Sergio Rojas. What's your view on promoting sponsorship for sports? How to make a sport company attractive for sponsorships? I think this is a challenge for any football club.
Yeah, Sergio, you're right. That's a great question, and it's a challenge, João, for everyone. I think there are a few levers that we need to develop in order to be attractive for sponsors. One of them is fan base, right? Fan base is not something that we can develop in the short term, but definitely in the long term. So this is important for sponsors to, because our fans are potential clients, basically. Second lever I think is important is winning games, winning championships. Because these brands, these sponsors, they want to link themselves to winning teams. They want to be in the newspaper or in every article in a positive way, not in a negative way, like relegations and fighting against relegation, this type of stuff. So it's always important to deliver a good results, improve um, improve the value of the brand. And third, I would say values. What are the values of the club that are linked to the values of the company? So every company, they have their own values. Like companies are more conservative, more aggressive. Companies are, uh, you know, uh, more risk taking. Others not. So we know that football clubs sometimes are not you know I'm trying to find the good words here. But normally football clubs are involved in schemes, so this creates a friction with potential sponsors. So being a club like us, like Botafogo, we are in one of the few in the country that have a private ownership. We have an American owner with American mindset, bringing innovation in the club all the time. We are always trying to beat the competitor in different aspects, like not only in the field, but we like to be the best in all the areas. So all of these values that we show to the market attracts sponsors that share the same values with us.
Thank you, Thairo. There's a few more. I think we have just about some 5 minutes or so to go. I'll try to accelerate here. There's a question from Elis Rua that is not appearing the name here, so I'm just going to read his question. He's an American who has lived in Brazil in the past, huge fan of the competition. Here's his question. These past 2 seasons have been some of the most entertaining in recent club history, showcasing the theater of sport that makes Botafogo unique. From a global branding perspective, has the club experienced a significant influx of fan interest from audiences outside Brazil? How is Botafogo capitalizing on this success? Brazilian football often feels like a sleeping giant. Um, and, yeah, I think there was, I think, more, but it didn't complete. It was too long a message. But yeah, Brazilian feels like a sleeping giant. He wants to know if yeah, how are you capitalizing on that success internationally, if there are actions for it already?
Well, it's a
Because
great
having a
question.
league
It's another
is
big challenge.
difficult, you know.
Yeah,
Without
yeah.
a
It's a
proper league,
different.
it's
It's a big
difficult.
challenge. Exactly, João. Like I'll touch that point as well. Like because what makes a club grow in status, international status, it's mostly viewers. So what are the like to be back? Like what are the source of revenues of a club? Source of revenues. First one, television. Second one, sponsorship, competition prizes, player sales, and then last one, merchandising and basically ticketing. Uh, the, so people think that fans are the ones that bring more money to the club. No, they are not. They are normally, I say, like, we are our fans are our clients for sure. We sell to them, but most of all, they are clients of our clients. Our major clients are television. Our major clients are sponsors. So our fans are clients of our clients. So when we see that approach, I need more people to watch Botafogo. If I have like a exciting club as he was describing, more people wants to see Botafogo, to watch the game, and not necessarily fans, real fans. So what made Manchester City big or PSG was the exciting of their game. So that people all over the world wants to watch Manchester City play, not necessarily fans. So that brings revenue to the clubs. That brings internationalization of the brand. But in order to have that viewers, in order to have that amount of people watching us, we need to have broadcasting internationally, and we don't. Like it's very hard to watch Brazil football in Europe or in United States or in China. First, we don't have a proper league as the Premier League. So CBF, the confederation, organized the league, but they don't work hard to deliver to the globe our channels. Second, the time of the game here is normally late at night. So like for Europe, it's going to be like 3-4 a.m. No one watches. So there are big challenges for us to be an international club. For sure, we got many exciting from abroad, but couldn't convert that a lot into revenues in the club, unfortunately.
Good. We're almost at the end here. Listen, there is here a question by Paula Carreiro. I'm just going to mention it, but Paula, I invited Thairo here to talk more about career, not football specific. I'm going to read. If you want to comment, he comments. If not, we're going to move ahead. But she says she's a Botafogo fan. Textor is right in not rushing to hire a coach, she thinks. But was Claudio Caçapa a name considered temporarily to take over the team? His performance in 23 was very positive. Then if you don't want to comment on that, because I invited you here to talk about your career and other things, feel free to skip it. Otherwise, if you want to comment, feel free as well.
Yeah, I'll comment fast. No, he was not considered, because everyone knows that we extended an offer to a Brazilian coach, and that is in Mexico now. And that was our first option at the time. So we didn't consider anyone to fulfill a short period of time. And now we are finalizing the interviews, and we will be ready to extend an offer to a new coach very, very soon. So it's no time to hurry to get someone temporarily just for a few games in the Carioca. That doesn't make sense.
Brilliant. Thairo, just before you go, there is a few more there, but guys, I promised Thairo that I would keep it to an hour. He's quite busy and making time during the day there to talk with us. So two quick ones for us to end are the traditional questions that I end the interview here. Actually, one I want to see, what's the best story that you have experienced thanks to working in sport? It may be a lesson that you learned or a funny story or something like that.
Well, John, that's a difficult one for me. Like, I'm not too old in football, so and normally I don't get involved in football too much in the pitch with the players. I don't like that too much. But I can tell a personal experience. Like we were like in 2023, Botafogo was doing great, and then suddenly collapsed and lost the championship. So I live in Rio. I couldn't go to the streets without people yelling at me, like people saying bad things, like people, like fans in Twitter were always saying like bad stuff. Some of them were threatening even my life. That was a very bad moment for me. Like my family told me to quit. Basically, they couldn't even see those threats themselves. And like less than a year later, people were like loving me again, like praising me, taking pictures in the streets. So I think that's not a nice story, but the reality of sports, fans are very passionate. They love or hate you in a second. And that's the beauty of that too. Like I believe that hate was good for me to grow as a person. And that was important to leave the hate before the love, because then I value more the love now.
And there's always one day after the other. What's your then favorite sporting moments? I think that's I can guess, but you can share with us your favorite sporting moment.
Well, the final Libertadores, that was huge. I think that was one of the most memorable games of everyone that watched the game. Having a red card in the first minute against us, we played the whole game with 10, and we in the final of the most important game a Brazilian can have, and like similar to the final of Champions League, and we beat 3-1. Atletico was a great team as well. In a very epic game. Like that was unbelievable, like supernatural. I cannot even tell, like it's a God works. Like I can't relate to something different than God in that game.
Yeah, I would have guessed that right. And the very last one, Thairo, we always ask our guests to recommend a book or a podcast or a YouTube channel to our audience. So what is it that you would recommend for people to follow, watch, or read?
Well, books, I like Soccernomics a lot. It's a more statistical approach to football, so you learn how to see the game in a more practical way, and there are a lot of myths that the book proves wrong. That's very intriguing, like to understand football in a different lens, in the lens of statistics. That's a good one, Soccernomics. And the other one that I like a lot is the Real Madrid Way. It's a, a book that brings what what changed the mindset of Real Madrid to become so successful. So basically, it's talking about culture, organizational culture that I believe a lot. So when you set the right culture and you drive your people, the full organization following the culture, you take out the people that are not aligned with your culture, then we really can do great things. I think the Real Madrid Way book is a very inspiring one to read as well.
Thank you for sharing that, Thairo. I want to say goodbye to you. Just want to say, as I said, we couldn't answer all the questions, but that's okay. I hear from Lamine saying that always good things here at iWorkinSport. He's watching from Senegal, from Dakar in Senegal. And Mame Paulo is a very special viewer in Santos, Brazil, saying hi. Thanks for watching as well. And so big thanks to everyone who watched this first episode. We hope to be back soon. And a super special thank you to you, Thairo. We've been waiting for the right time, and I think it couldn't be better. I remember that I first talked to you before the 2023 championship, and I said, João, let's wait. And then we waited, and you came in the right moment. So I'm very happy that we could do it. Thanks a lot.
No, that's a big pleasure, João. Like so many great questions from you and from the audience. That's a joy for me, for sure, to be here. And I always count on me, okay, as a friend and as a follower of your work.
Thank you, Thairo. Stay there with us. I'm just going to end the stream, and then I'll let you go. Bye-bye, everyone. See you soon.